Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC 262, Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira. We're going to talk two free plays on this card. Really excited about this main event. This is one that I definitely was looking at and just a really fun fight to break down. So we're definitely going to be talking about that and one other play we're going to discuss here on the show. We are coming off another sweeping performance, won all of my client plays last Saturday night, including Phil Haas at plus 125, including Maria Rodriguez, which also was a client play as well, and Gregor Gillespie. So clean sweep there. And then we also did talk about on here Neil Magny, who won plus 165. So really a great performance there. Glad we all cashed in. Definitely getting a lot of DMs and messages from everybody, so always appreciate that. And definitely before we get into the plays here, I do appreciate anyone who does head kick the like button here and subscribe and follow me on Twitter at KyleAnthonyUFC. Always appreciate that. It really helps the channel grow, so definitely thank you for that in advance for those of you that are doing that. So if you want to get my package this week, you can take a look. Link down in the description. I'm going to have a bunch of plays. Already have a couple logged in there already. Gonna have a few more in there, so definitely take a look if you're interested. WagerTalk.com, link in the description. That's where you can get those plays. If you're interested in some free plays, that's what we're here for. We will talk about that. So let's get right into it. We're going to talk the main event, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. This is, again, a fun fight. Really excited to break this one down. I think that there's a lot that goes into this, a lot to unpack. And there's particular fights here that I'm going to talk about and I want to get a little bit more into as we go on. And as we always do in the show, what we do here is we look at three fights for each fighter, see what we see if one fighter can expose the other fighter, and if the line makes sense to place a wager. So we're going to first talk about Charles Oliveira. We got the line right now is minus 145 roughly for Charles, and then you've got Michael Chandler who is around a plus 116. So minus 142, plus 116, roughly around where these lines are right now, depending where you are shopping it. So we're going to first talk about Charles Oliveira against Jared Gordon. Now this is a fight here. Not a lot to really break down in this one here. Jared Gordon, not really a high-level fighter, but Oliveira did what he's supposed to do in this situation. In this fight here, you definitely saw the early pressure from Gordon coming out the gate. He kind of had the early pressure, looking for the takedown, which was an interesting way, interesting kind of strategy really going into this for Gordon. Looked to really kind of muscle him down, and there was something there where Charles was really able to kind of flip him, get really reverse positioning, get it back to standing up, or at least as they were kind of really kind of sweeping each other back and forth, and then he went back to the stand-up. But Charles in there looked really comfortable, and that's something that I think we're going to see. We're going to talk a little more about that. How comfortable was standing? And that's something that was a big thing against him prior to this, and 5-6 fights ago, where just is his striking there? Is he really just a specialist? And he's kind of starting to put it together, and he is looking a lot more comfortable on the feet. But in this position here, you definitely had heavy pressure from Gordon, who was trying to get the big shot, kind of smother him, not allow him to really think and let him push forward. Charles did land a beautiful uppercut, dropped him, got back up. Charles lands a big shot, drops him, fight ends first round. So not really much to break down there besides the scrambling that they had, and where you did have Gordon kind of trying to get the takedown. Besides for that fight ends first round knockout for Charles Oliveira. And then 2 fights ago, this is the one here I think is the most important fight to break down, pretty much out of all the ones we're going to talk about today for this particular bout, is against Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee versus Charles, I think, is a really interesting fight because you got Kevin Lee who is a wrestler. Now, this is a 5-round fight, but Kevin is a wrestler, and obviously that's going to be his go-to. His striking is a little iffy, his boxing is a little iffy, but he does have a nice reach advantage. And this was a situation here, right out the gate, you saw Charles be the one that pushed forward, that actually looked to get the pressure going, and right out the gate, and it was interesting enough. And I think the big part of what I think Oliveira is kind of able to do in certain of these spots is the fact that he doesn't have to worry about the takedowns. He doesn't have to feel uncomfortable if someone's going to shoot and take him down because he's very comfortable on his back. So even somebody does get him down, he's fine off of his back. He's creative. He's always hunting submissions. And that was a situation here where Kevin Lee, who is the wrestler, is going to look for a takedown at certain points, and he's going to look to dive in for those takedowns. But early in that first round, they kind of, again, it was a situation where they were kind of stumbling on each other. There was kind of a takedown attempt, stumbling on each other, and Kevin Lee gets top control. Now, this, I think, particular situation here is something we could see Saturday night with Michael Chandler, where he's really looking to get the takedown. How would he handle that top pressure? How would Charles Oliveira handle that top pressure? And in this situation here, Kevin kept it. He was able to keep that top pressure pretty much for a good portion of that first round, and able to kind of, and again, on the bottom, Charles is comfortable. And the whole time, the one thing that Kevin Lee was able to do was stay clear of all these submission attempts, because it was consistent, where even where Kevin was just kind of trying to get just momentum and just keep him in a spot, I mean, constantly Oliveira's, hunting this, grabbing this leg, twisting him here, and the whole time Kevin Lee is trying to just, keep him in place, maybe do a little bit of ground and pound to kind of keep, top positioning. And that was constant, heavy activity from the bottom from Charles Oliveira. Now, did he win the round or hard to say, but the top control was coming from Kevin Lee, but more of the hunting of submissions was coming from Charles Oliveira. So that was the first round, and I think again, and now this kind of turns it the other way, is in that second round, Kevin Lee looked okay, but the issue was his cardio. This has been something that we have seen in his career, his cardio situations, can he keep going? He likes to wrestle, but can he keep that pace? Can he keep going and doing that? Or once he is unable to, it's kind of these diving takedowns, these really off-putting takedowns that really are easy to defend. But this situation in that second round is where, Charles again looked pretty comfortable standing. Was comfortable standing, had a more versatile striking. He was able to, throw some leg kicks, throw some body kicks, mix it up a little bit. And in here again, you saw that Kevin Lee gets these takedowns. And again, that's something that's going to go into Saturday night, absolutely, where you've got this guy, in Chandler, who has, I think it was completely more well-rounded, but similar skill set than Kevin Lee. And you've got Chandler, who has more power than him, better boxing than him. So it's something that you can definitely try to piece this together. But Kevin Lee had success even when he was gassed. Was able to get him down, was able to get top control, keep top control, and again, Charles scrambling around, trying to keep positioning, hunting for submissions, and that was, I think, something, again, that goes into Saturday night. So then you're going into that third round. This is, again, where Kevin Lee, this was at a point near that end of that second round, he was gassed. He was already gassed, but he was pretty much done. And going into that third round, he looked to throw a couple nice combinations, he was landing, and then shot for a takedown, which was, again, the sloppy takedowns that we're just talking about. Left his head there, a guillotine submission choke in the third round for Charles Oliveira. He goes there and gets the victory. But again, in this whole fight, I think it's very similar to some of these things. And again, we're going to kind of tie it all together at the end of this, but that's something that you definitely got to, take a nugget away going into how you're going to cap this fight finally. And then most recently, it was against Charles Oliveira against Tony Ferguson. Now, this is one I am not going to dive into. It was a great showing for Oliveira. He goes out there, took Ferguson down, kept top control, even in the scrambling situations, kept him there, able to, consistently hunt for submissions over and over and over again. And, Ferguson's kind of trying to find his way out. And, that first round, I don't know how he even kind of, which everybody talks about, how he was able to kind of, he had the arm bar and his arms kind of going in the wrong direction, basically. Looked like he was popped out. Really a good showing and a dominant showing, just a pure dominant showing. And now this is a situation where do you kind of say, hey, Ferguson's kind of heading down, a path that he's not gonna be, he's just kind of getting old. He's just kind of getting old at this point. Or is this a situation where, this is just really Oliveira being a dominant grappler, and that's why he got this. Could be a mix of both, but either way, he goes out there, dominates, all rounds, sweeping decision victory. Charles Oliveira goes there and gets the victory done. Now on the other side, you've got Michael Chandler. Now, 3 fights ago, he fought Sydney Outlaw. This was in Bellator. Again, these we're going to kind of go pretty quickly over because they're all one-round knockouts. But against Sydney Outlaw, early, you did see, and this is something that Chandler likes to do, is that he throws a lot of body shots. He'll open up with some body shots, kind of soften up his opponent, look to kind of, they call it kind of, putting $1 away. It's money in the bank, where you just kind of do that. It's going to pay off later in the fight. He hasn't really gone too deep in these fights, but he goes out there mixing it up very nicely. Good footwork you see from Chandler. Nice boxing, distance management, very good. And he goes in a situation here, he lands a big shot, a big hook, drops him, gets on top, swarms, fight over, knocks out Sidney Outlaw in round 1 in Bellator. Great showing. And then 2 fights ago, he fought Benson Henderson. Another spot here where maybe Henderson's, getting older at this point, not the guy that he used to be, the ex-UFC champion. And this is a spot here where, again, you did see great movement, from Chandler. Good movement, good footwork, in and out, boom, 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 throws some nice combinations, bounces back out. Circles, boom, 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 back out. And he's very good at that. And then, I think those are opportunities where if he wants to, he could kind of bounce back in for the level changes, if that's something he's looking to do. But this was another fight where, Henderson kind of, stuck in there in the pocket, landed another big shot. And the one thing that you see, even the other fight we're talking about with Dan Hooker, is, Chandler has absolute power. And these guys, when he touches them and he hits their head, they just fold. They just literally fold down, and the power is there. That's something that is very interesting. Again, we're going to talk about it, at the end of this, but the power is absolutely on his side in this fight Saturday night. But he goes out there and knocks out Benson Henderson in round 2. And then most recently, he fought Dan Hooker. Now, this is a fight here that, Hooker, is the kind of fighter that, he's a brawler. He's tough to put away. He'll stand and bang. You even saw him against Edson Barboza, where Barboza, landed just a monster amount of shots, leg kicks, head kicks, and he just kind of hung in there. And even though he lost and got beat up, he stayed in the pocket. He was, he's able to do that against multiple fighters. You've seen him just be in the pocket, hard to put away. That's kind of been his thing. He's durable. The durability is just really high. And then you mix in, his good ranging strikes and just a lot of things that he could do. And you go into this fight against Chandler, and he pretty much just obliterates and steamrolls through Dan Hooker, which I think speaks volumes of the power. And it's the same kind of situation here where Chandler came out. He came out with pressure, bobbing, moving back and forth, kept good distance management, circling, finding angles to throw shots. And, Hooker almost looked like a deer in headlights. And I'm not sure what that's attributed to. Is it more Chandler is just a monster and he couldn't really just gauge the distance, or whatever it was? It's really, I would obviously give it to, Chandler. Why I don't think there was an issue with Hooker by any means. But the fact that he goes out there, lands one big shot, and the same kind of way that that Outlaw fell and Henderson fell is the same way that Dan Hooker fell. They just collapse, they fall down, and he gets right on top. It's the thing that it's not even these shots that he lands where it kind of rocks the guy. He's just, he's standing and he kind of up against the fence and he's kind of, wobbled, or, these kind of things. When he hits them with a clean shot, these guys go down and he's able to swarm, get on top, finish the fight, and that's what he did here against Dan Hooker, which I thought was very impressive. But it shows, people question, is Henderson getting old? Is Sidney Outlaw really that good? He's running through these guys, and you go against a guy who is really a tough test, and he made him look like a chump out there. He made Dan Hooker look kind of scared and very timid, and he goes out there hunting for him. He was really walking Hooker down pretty much, as long as the fight lasted. And Hooker was on his back foot, even though Hooker was trying to land some of those leg kicks, soften up, slow him down. Didn't even matter. He just pushed forward, landed the big hook, drops him. He gets the victory, knockout victory in round 1. Now, with that all being said, take a look at these two guys. Obviously, you've got Oliveira, his elite level, ground game, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, just top level. And the one thing that is going to be a massive factor in Saturday night is the fact he hunts for those submissions. And we just talked about it, about, multiple guys who have that top control, or if they do get him down, or wherever they are on the ground, he does not stop moving. And that's something that Chandler's got to look out for. When he's in those situations where if he's going to look for those takedowns, it is as soon as they hit the mat, he's already grabbing a wrist, turning you here, looking for any limb he can get his hands on and just get you out of sorts and hunt. Even if he's not looking to get the submission, but he's looking to just get you out of position. And that's something that definitely Oliveira is fantastic at. But you added the fact now that the elevated striking, and again, we talked about that as well, that this is something that, before was just, hey, he could just choke you out, stay on the feet, you should be okay. He's definitely got more comfortable, and you've seen it in the fights that he's just able to really kind of stay at a distance, move around, and that's something that, will help him, that now guys are a little bit more worried about his striking. You've seen him, he's very light-footed, he does a lot of jump kicks, spinning kicks, he's very comfortable with that, and I think also he's very comfortable with these wild, kind of flashy strikes is because he's okay being on the ground. He's okay with being taken down because obviously that's almost that is his wheelhouse. So he's comfortable allowing his opponent to get him there without him even needing to get those takedowns. And then the other side, you've got Michael Chandler, top level wrestler. Definitely fantastic scrambles, strong guy, great footwork. We talked about that, as well as distance management. Able to, throw a good combination, bounce back out, move back in, have damage, stay out of harm's way. He's really great at doing that. Now, the big situation here, there's a couple things here. The first big situation here is the striking exchanges. Now, we'll first quickly talk about each one of these. The striking exchanges. Now, they're standing who has the better striking. And, you've got Chandler who has really quick developing combinations, and obviously he's got the power advantage. Now, he's pretty good at volume. Have we seen him deep with his cardio, and can he keep that volume going? We haven't seen that because he's been knocking these guys out so early. But the other side of it is, again, you've seen that Oliveira has been elevating his striking. That's going to help, but is that enough? Is that enough? And then the other side of that, you've got the grappling. Who's got the better grappling? And that's, again, another chess match that we're going to be able to see Saturday night is who has the better grappling? Who's going to be able to dictate the pace of the fight? I think the issue here for me when you're looking at Oliveira is, yes, he's got the strike, he's got some good striking, but this is a situation where you could see if he does look to get the takedown, if Michael Chandler looks to get the takedown, is that Oliveira is the kind of guy that he just accepts being on bottom. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but, the way that a lot of people are talking about the way that Chandler wrestles is he has that heavy top pressure. He's able to keep you in that spot. He's able to work you. And that's something that, could that get him in trouble? Maybe, because, again, you've got Oliveira who likes bottom. He's okay with that. Now, all that being said, I think this is a situation where this could really nullify each other, where you may have somebody like Michael Chandler saying, forget me shooting for takedowns, forget attempting any of those things. Why would I do that? Where, he almost invites his opponent to take him down, so why would I want to engage in that? And if this is a standing bout and it nullifies each other, because again, Oliveira is not really a kind of guy that's diving for takedowns. Again, he kind of latches on you and is able to, get the fight to the ground in kind of different ways. That's a situation where you could see this being a standing bout. Now, if this is a full-on standing bout, which of course I'm sure is going to be grappling involved, I highly favor Chandler in this spot. I mean, if you're talking about obviously not a kickboxing match, but if you're talking a fight that's going to be more of a standing bout, that you're not going to have Oliveira look for the takedown, that it's going to be standing, and you've got such the power advantage going to Michael Chandler, I like Michael Chandler in this spot. I think at plus money, you're ranging from plus 120, plus 115, somewhere in that range. I think that the value is absolutely on Chandler in this spot. It's not like I don't think Oliveira can't get the job done. Obviously he continues to win fights, look great, keep elevating. But I think that this stylistically may not be the best matchup for him. Now, the whole situation again is if Chandler goes for those takedowns, that could be scary. That I almost hope that Chandler doesn't do that and just kind of fends them off, stays on the outside, works his big shots, and looks for the big bomb. And it's not that he just has to land the big bomb and that's it. I think he could outpace him. I think he could keep moving forward. I think he could land the big shots. And again, you've got a fighter in Oliveira who's just really starting to get that striking together. I think that's a great spot where if they stand, and I think again, the wrestling and the grappling could nullify each other, and we could be looking at a kickboxing match in the main event, I like him to get out there and get the job done. I think Charles has the ability, but Chandler is the guy that can land the big shot. You've seen that he's got the touch of death, where pretty much he lands, he doesn't really need to land a bunch. He lands one, guys go down, and I think that's what could happen. I think the knockout prop is really live. I haven't even, I don't know if that's come out or I haven't even seen it, but I think the knockout prop is a great prop to even sprinkle on top of this. But I think Chandler goes out there, gets the job done. I think he looks fantastic. I think he's way more explosive than Oliveira. I think there's just a lot more weapons he can do on the feet. He's a lot more comfortable, although Oliveira has been comfortable on the feet. I think Chandler can go out there and get the job done. So as my free play, I am taking Michael Chandler plus 116. And the other one I'm going to quickly go over, as I always do in the second one, kind of just give it out instead of diving through everything, is Viviane Arguello versus Katlyn Chookagian. You've got Viviane is plus 120, and you've got Chookagian is minus 145. Now this one here, I think the big part of this, Katlyn's she just does enough to hang around. She's pulling some wins out, pulling some losses out. Not really. Has looked great in certain spots. Hasn't really looked that great in certain spots. Got obliterated by Andrade, but then came back and looked pretty good against what's her name? Cynthia Calvillo. And so there's been some spots where she's looked good. But this part here is that, and she does have a good pace. She pushes out a decently pace, and those are the things I think that can help her going forward. And she went out there and beat the non-champion Shevchenko. She went there and won there and found a path to victory there. My situation here is she just doesn't have power or strength like Viviane does. And I think Viviane really has started to really, hit that next level for her career. I think her strength is way over Chookagian. I think that Chookagian, again, she reminds me of like an aerobics kind of fighter, where she's good, she's sharp, she yells every time she throws a punch, and sometimes that I think kind of could sway the judges. But it's just, she doesn't have that brutality in there where she's going to lay a big shot. She's going to look for takedowns, keep you there, keep volume, just kind of pepper you out, and hope on the scorecards she's pretty much landed more than her opponent. In this situation here, I think Viviane has a path to victory. I think she is going to be much stronger in the clinch. I think she's going to be much stronger in the takedowns. She's going to be much stronger when they're on the ground and keeping top control. I think those are absolute paths to victory. I think she'll be able to muscle Chookagian around, and I think that's what she's going to look for. She has that strength. Her striking has looked a lot better, a lot cleaner as of late. I think at plus money here, I like Viviane Arguello to get the job done. There's a point where, again, Chookagian, there's certain things she does well, but I think in this spot here, I think that, she's gonna, when you're gonna be watching, you're gonna see maybe Chookagian land about 3 shots. That really doesn't do much at all, and then you're gonna see maybe 1 or 2 shots coming from Arguello, and you're gonna see the power difference. And I think that is going to help her, where she also is gonna be able to pretty much muscle Chookagian down. I think those things mixed together are really going to give her a great opportunity to win on the scorecards here. I think that's another sprinkle is Arguello via decision, but I do like Viviane Arguello here, plus 120. I think that's great value here on a girl that I think is really starting to hit her stride. And then on the other side, you've got Chookagian, who is who she is. She's found some paths to victory in certain fighters, but I think this is a spot here that strength is going to be a massive difference. And I think that's how she gets her down, muscles her down, finds a way to chip away in the scorecards and get the victory. So as my other play, it'll be Viviane Arguello at plus 120. So those are my 2 free plays for UFC 262 this Saturday night. Really excited about it. We're going to have a crowd there. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. It definitely brings a whole different energy when you're watching these fights. So only to those fighters there know that once you're in that cage, you do see that they definitely start to feed into that energy. So it should be a great night of fights. So if you want to definitely take a look at my WagerTalk plays, client plays, link down in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, all those great things. Appreciate everybody's support. Let's cash in and sweep for the 3rd straight event. Definitely can't wait for the next card. Definitely can't wait for this Saturday night. We will see you then. And the next show, this is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and we'll see you next time.